Welcome back, Helldivers. I have a bunch of news for you, from major orders to personal orders to Myelin Creek coming back, and also another war taking place. In the Discord, there has been a big discussion about the role of Game Master and Joel. Please protect Joel. But with this discussion, we actually have a bunch of information from one of the developers, the community manager, Baskinator, who gives a bunch of feedback on where they're going and how they can improve with the Game Master role. So we're going to talk about that today. Right, starting with the easy stuff, we have now liberated Mantez, which means Myelin Creek is back on the menu. We also have a new major order to defend Angel's Venture, and nicely and finally, personal orders are now back. You're not going insane. They just kind of disappeared for a while. They should be working again. You should check them. You should see that you have a new personal order, and you can complete these to get some more medals. Right, let's talk about what's happening over in the Discord. Look, I don't check Discord every day, and I'm not reading every single message, but this did get my attention because there was a little bit of backlash surrounding the Game Master's role. And let me summarize it so you don't have to go and dig through the entire thread. But before I do, let me just sort of summarize the Game Master's role. I have done that before, but just in case you're still getting your head around this, or you've actually just new to Helldivers, the primary role of the Game Master is to influence the galactic war. They can do things like give the entire community stratagems. The incendiary mines was one of the things that popped up during one of the campaigns, and everyone had access to that as like an additional stratagem. But they can also make the game harder, and they can influence how quickly a force gains a territory, meaning how hard we have to fight to liberate a planet. It is inspired by tabletop games. Arrowhead has been very clear in saying that, you know, they're fans of tabletop games and Dungeons and Dragons, and they wanted a real person as a game master that impacts the galactic war. They've also mentioned that they have these set pieces planned, and so yeah, just like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, there are things that they want to happen so the player can experience it. And this is kind of, I guess, the campaign, the story of Helldivers is the galactic war and these things playing out according to the Game Master. So why are some people mad? Well, this is a pretty good summary. Most live service games let you have at least the illusion of an impact. The way this order's been done is very poor. The radio silence and lack of narrative discussion on the matter has only made it worse. The fact that we now know that if we unite together as an elite helldiving force, that it doesn't matter because the GMs don't want us to progress. That's what the issue is. Instead of having a Terminid swarm spread, you all just halted it completely and said, nope, stalemate until we decide who wins. This does not give us the impression that we have player agency, quite the opposite. So this is in reference to a planet where a lot of Helldivers were liberating or defending it, and essentially we still lost. And people were like, well, what's the point if 400,000 people are, you know, doing the galactic war and they're doing their part and they're playing their role and we still lose? And that's what a lot of these comments were talking about. This person here also said most people were just unhappy that the decay rate was cranked up to an insanely high rate with no reason given. It left a bad taste in the mouth. Most of the people voicing their concerns were talking about how it would have been better if there was some kind of in-universe explanation, flavor text, rather than quite literally just changing some numbers. Right, so overall, some people dislike the idea of a Games Master in general. Personally, I like it. I haven't had an issue with it. I've been just caught up in the game and I haven't really been thinking about it too much. But I think the more constructive criticism is that people would like a little bit more integration into the game when things change, especially when the community is fighting hard to defend or liberate a planet. So the community manager, Baskinator, responded to a lot of people over on the Discord, and there's some really interesting insights into the Game Master role. So she said this: most live service games have something like a Game Master, but it's a series of automated events. Buffs, debuffs, events are activated automatically according to some schedule, instead of what we're doing here, which is a person who can analyze the campaign as it's happening and make more sensitive choices. We knew it would be divisive, but we hope overall that people enjoy it. They are standing by their decision to have a Games Master. Baskinator would also go on to say, we accept that some players won't like this. That's why we announced it before the release and tried to do our best to explain that it's like playing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign with a human being. He's the Dungeon Master for millions. Baskinator did acknowledge that there are already things that they are doing to try and improve this role. She said, "It's on my list to do some deep dives into the GM systems and let him address the community in some sort of blog from us. We have to free up some time for him to be able to write about it." So somebody asked, can we get more information? And Baskinator said, yeah, we're working on it. It's on my to-do list. We need to free up time from Joel so he can have a better discussion with the community. I think they're doing a fantastic job at communicating. The CEO's incredibly active on Twitter. The community managers are incredibly active in Discord, but they're even working on doing more communication. And it's not just outside of the game. Baskinator said the in-game part of it is something we're actively working on. Talking about having that, I guess, lore snippets pop up and give some explanation in-game for losing planets, winning planets, and a bit more story to do with the Galactic War. This was in response to someone saying, I get the idea that this is meant to be like almost Dungeons and Dragons or a tabletop game and you have a games master, but when you do play those campaigns, the dungeon master will give you sort of context to what's happening, why you might lose an area. They are obviously guiding you through a campaign, but there's a little bit more information to fill in the gaps here, and that's kind of what people were complaining about. It just felt like there was a switch that was being flipped rather than some context to why things happened. And as Baskinator actually says, they actually agree and they're going to look into how they can improve that. Saying, I agree on more information. This was a very big experiment for the studio. Really, it's something that a video game has never done before. I would love to see a GM's decisions roll into overall narrative world building of the game. To me, this makes it feel more like a real war with real stakes, even though it's just a video game. The incredibly sad part of all this is because people are taking it so seriously. They are actually concerned for Joel's safety, with Baskinator saying, this concerns me too, when someone said I'm a bit scared for Joel, and that's why I chose to protect his safety as best I can. This is an awful part of the video games industry, when gamers take a game way too seriously and start personally harassing and targeting devs. This is a very scary and a very real consequence of making video games, and it also happens when you have a lot of communication, and when you put a name and a person to a specific role, then people who take it too far target that person, and it is very scary for Joel. And please, can we protect Joel and give him a little bit of support? And it's not even protecting Joel from angry gamers, but it's protecting Joel from himself. Baskinator said, yes, absolutely. That's why we have done an emergency expansion of the GM's team. So he's got a bit of backup now. He's only one guy and he was just not sleeping. I remember over the launch weekend, he was sending me messages at 4 AM because we're the only ones still awake. And there you have it, your Helldivers 2 news. You can send some support and love to Joel by commenting, protect Joel, in the comments below. Hopefully they'll take notice and feel that not everyone's out to get them. You can disagree and dislike an aspect of the game, but you can very easily still respect the developers and the game company. And that will do it for today. As usual, it's been a pleasure. This is Myelin Games. Peace.